Hi everyone, Di Parker here from Just Ask a Coach, and today, because Christmas is upon us soon, I've asked our two nutritionist coaches to come and join me for a conversation on this podcast today to help you manage this coming season. Today we have,
Hi everyone, I'm Wendy from Health and Balance.
And I'm Tori, a registered health coach.
so these two wonderful ladies have been given a few questions that you guys have sent in to me. So we're going to start there really. So how do I balance enjoying Christmas food with staying healthy without guilt or extreme rules?
Shall I kick us off?
Yeah, go on then.
I think it's quite interesting in terms of some of the language there, Di, like, without guilt or extreme rules.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we've kind of, associate food with being guilty or being extreme, and actually food is meant to be a positive thing. It's meant to nourish us. So I just find that the use of the language there
Yes.
quite interesting. I don't know what you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think actually,
You're putting pressure on yourself before you even begin.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. And I think
Yeah.
actually, like, just overall, I know we're going to get into Christmas, but something that I will talk to people about is actually, just making kind of good choices in a sort of relaxed way all of the time is better than extreme rules or guilt at any point. So
Yeah.
that would be my top tip at any time of the year.
Yeah, and like restricting yourself, because I think when you start restricting yourself, like using things without guilt or extreme, then you sort of disempower yourself. But where if you use choices, that feels more empowering because it feels like you're in control of the choices that you make.
Yeah.
And as Tori says, that's like an all year round thing. I think it's probably heightened over Christmas because we're surrounded maybe by things that are a bit more indulgent.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting to me is again the word guilt, because as those that listen to me know that guilt is something that's applied to us emotionally if we've committed a murder of some kind, not because we haven't finished our dinner, and yet we're guilted from knee up. So if we think about that word, and when I ask my clients then when they understand that, what's the feelings that come up? Sadness, because in my case it's grief, or fear. So it's almost like they're fearing food that they're going to be enjoying with their families at Christmas before they've even begun. So let's take that pressure off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's see what we can do with that.
I mean, sorry, just to interrupt there, but I did just think of one thing actually, because only because it's something I try and do and something I speak to people about a lot, is that, one of the things about as you're just saying, about guilt and restriction. I think, like, so I've spoken to people before and they've used the word of like, oh well, I'll not eat all day because I'm going to save my calories. But actually, in my experience, what that leads to is poor choices and overeating. And actually, just think about, I mean, so for me, often, for most women that I speak to, the one meal that they can control during the day, because, life is hectic and busy and we're running around, rushing, trying to sort the Christmas out, is actually breakfast. So making sure that you have a nice, healthy, balanced breakfast, get some plenty of fiber actually, and some protein into that breakfast. And you'll be amazed at how that sets you up for the day. So that actually, when it comes to making choices about your Christmas food, you're not kind of you're not in a sense of scarcity and overindulging. You might feel hungry, but you're not overdoing it. So that can help.
So you help you be more
Just help yourself moderate.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. I think breakfast is really important because, as you say, it does set you up for the day. And the other thing that we often forget about is, when we're in a really stressful situation, and Christmas, let's face it, can be quite stressful for a lot of people in terms of what goes on in the body, our cortisol levels and adrenaline and all that kind of stuff. And I think to kind of set yourself up for the day and to give yourself the best start to the day is to have a good balanced breakfast, because that helps to then balance those cortisol
and if they're
levels.
grieving, they could be doing the comfort eating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just building on what Tori said in terms of skipping meals, that's probably the worst thing you could do, because actually you're thinking, oh, I'll just save those calories for later. But then you tend to overindulge. But we've all been there, haven't we?
Check yourself.
Well, I do fasting, so that kind of works into that. I mean, I have a full day fasting, and then the next day I might have one meal, and then the next day I'm eating properly, just to keep my metabolism
Yeah.
on. What's she doing next? Anyway, so what's your top tip then for not falling into a food coma? How to stay feeling energized instead of sluggish?
Movement.
Yeah.
Movement, definitely movement. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we, in terms
Yeah.
of just kind of keep moving, even if it is. So what I find is people find, oh, I have to move a certain number of minutes or hours a day. Well, actually, you don't. You just need to move. So if you've got time during the day, especially on Christmas, just go for a walk, even if it's a 10-minute walk down, around the block. You can take the kids with you, or if you just want some alone time, share responsibilities in the kitchen, get everybody involved, and just take yourself off for a walk, whether that be after breakfast or maybe after your lovely turkey dinner, whatever. But yeah, just
I
get yourself
usually
moving.
put the like pop Christmas songs on, and
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great
my
idea.
version is for dancing.
Absolutely.
If you just sit straight down after a big meal, like you will feel
Mm.
sleepy, because actually we're talking about this as well. Like our body is going
Yeah,
to
the
prioritize
blood cells.
digestion,
Yeah.
so it just sends all the blood to our tummy to try and
Yeah.
digest all that delicious food.
Yeah.
And you're just going to feel sleepy. But if you said you just sort of go for a quick walk round, or put some tunes on,
Yeah.
have a little bit of a Christmas disco
Right.
party.
Get,
Let's play drums.
and get everyone involved.
Playing
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
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 So I seem to do okay over Christmas, but then the leftovers. Da, da, da. So, my mum said this. She used to make roast potatoes for, and everybody would have their portion, but she'd always do a few extras. she, that
Yeah.
so obviously managing that is an obvious one.
Mhm.
Do not overdo it. I put, when I'm doing that kind of thing now, I put a buffet style out so that people can put on their plate what they want to save them. But then you can be left with lots of leftovers. So, and I generally like Boxing Day, because when I used to cook a dinner, because I don't anymore at the moment, you could have another dinner without actually doing anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, straight
There's
away,
different things
that's
you can do, isn't
a
there?
fantastic thing to do. So obviously there's many things that we'll keep in the fridge for a few days. So, obviously be mindful of rice and meats and things like that just might need to eat a bit sooner. I mean, one thing that I do, so part of our Christmas dinner actually, is I do a huge tray of like roasted root vegetables. And I don't mind having extra of those, because actually my top tip for that is, if you stick them in on the day after, if you think, oh, we're not going to eat them as another meal, put them into a blender with some sort of vegetable stock, and you've got a soup.
Yummy.
Then you can
Oh,
freeze it.
yeah.
So like I will do that. So actually, like, there's ways that you can use it to then, so just turn it into something else that makes it easy to freeze. Because obviously, I mean, you could even just freeze the veg as they are and then use them in a soup later if you don't have time.
Yeah.
But then you've got soup at another meal,
Yeah,
or
you've got it
again
in the fridge
freeze.
ready to go.
Yeah, so like slices of turkey, I'll slice it up, put a little
Yeah,
bit of
yeah.
greaseproof paper between the bits and put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
And then you can easily defrost it and use it for sandwiches, things
Now
like
you
that.
said something really interesting before about turkey. Do you want
Yeah.
to share that?
Well, it's interesting. It's a bit of a myth, because I think you'd have to eat quite a lot, but turkey is actually quite high.
Like the whole turkey.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. So turkey, well, it's high in tryptophan. So tryptophan is a precursor for melatonin, which we produce to sleep. And so it is why some people might get that sleepy feeling after eating
So
turkey.
it's not our fault, it's the turkey.
It is the turkey, yeah. I mean,
Bless the bird.
yeah, I wouldn't say it was 100% the turkey, but you could think, if you're sensitive, you could swap out your turkey for, like, maybe some nice Manx beef, or
Yeah.
or veggies, or nut roast or something, if you're not kind of into red meat, or fish, salmon's lovely on Christmas as well.
Yeah.
So there's loads of different options depending on how you eat, but yeah.
That's it. Any of the other food do that to us before we go it? Like Christmas pudding, mince pies, anything lurking in
I
them.
mean, there are different foods that are higher in, I mean, kiwi fruits are supposed to be high in tryptophan as well, and other things. But I mean, so maybe if you're having a fruit salad with kiwi fruit in, but again, I think really the quantities that you would need to eat of these foods is a lot. We're talking about a lot. So there are foods that are naturally
It's like everything
high.
moderation, isn't
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
Right. So what are the most surprising places calories hide at the holidays? drinks, snacks, or the actual meal?
Well, I don't think it's one or the other. I think there are like calories, hidden calories in all of those, really. And alcohol's one of those things that tends to kind of come up a lot over the festive season. So for me, it's about making those the choices for you. So think about a glass of red wine versus, I don't know, a gin and tonic or a gin and slimline. Less calories in the gin and slimline than the wine. But if you're going to choose wine, maybe have a smaller glass, so that, again, you're not feeling like you're restricting yourself rather than the bottle. But maybe have a smaller glass and like really enjoying it mindfully, so that you don't feel like
Well,
you're
that's why I
going.
like red wine, because I drink it mindfully. It's just
Yeah.
the sip, rather than I used to drink Bacardi and Coke,
Yeah.
and it's like white wine. Even white wine
Yeah.
is gone, whereas red wine slows me down.
Yeah, or sometimes alternate.
I've
So
got gin and
you can,
tonic,
like,
girls. Ugh.
Yeah,
fair
but
enough.
it's kind of what's your tipple, really, and
Yeah,
then going,
yeah.
"Oh, okay, well, and I think also if you're going out to this time of the year, there's a lot of Christmas parties, and there is kind of free drinks, a lot of corporates, like free drinks at the bar. It's about making those,
yeah, but you don't have to drink it,
No.
do you?
yeah,
No.
exactly. So you don't have to drink it, and then making
It's like, I've worked hard all this year, I'm going to get a
yeah.
bit like that
Oh, yeah.
all-inclusive buffet,
Oh,
that
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is that.
yeah, regulating yourself to slow down
I
on
mean, the
it.
biggest thing for me would actually be generally, and this is a rule at any time, not as a rule, I've got no rules really, but like, at any time of the year, the thing that it's worth just visualizing in your head as well, is thinking about, especially at Christmas as well, there's so much of it is like more processed food or ultra processed food, in fact, because, it's all over the supermarkets. Now, you don't have to go, so you can make different choices yourself on whether you want to eat these things. But all I would say is that, generally speaking, foods that are processed or ultra processed are highly palatable and usually high in calories, and also not very filling. So what I would suggest is that, try and fill up a bit on whole foods. I'm going to say fiber again, because I think, I was interested listening to a podcast, actually. I mean, it's been coming up this year beside protein, and I think it's going to be a bit of a thing in 2026. But it's so important for us. But actually, what is fascinating about it is the way it makes us feel full, so that we don't have that urge with snack. Whereas, if you think about, like, I don't know, like all the little canapé things you can buy that are just so easy.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you've eaten like a lot of calories.
Yeah.
But if you tried to eat that many calories in like carrots, you'd be thinking, Tori, don't make me anymore. I can't do this.
Do you go to one of those salad bars that people have got all different types of that kind of food on it, that I wouldn't normally know even how to start making? I'll have a little bit of that, and I'm literally just a little spoon of this, and before you know it, you've got full of food. But you want to try it because you've never had it before. So here's one for you: true or false? Eating vegetables helps us lose weight. So if you eat the vegetables first, then the protein, and then the carbs, does that? That came up in a question.
Did it? Interesting.
So I was just wondering,
Well,
is it true or false, or is it just one of those myths that somebody's thrown around again?
Can I
to
say
eat
it
the
depends?
Yeah.
Can
I
I
was
say it
gonna
depends?
say.
I don't want to interrupt you, Diane. Like, feel
No.
obviously jump in as well.
Yeah.
So I would say there was a study that came out this year that compared, I mean, I'm going to go on about the sort of processed food again, only because I just think it makes your life harder when you're trying to, if you're trying to lose weight, if that's your goal. Like, it doesn't need to be, it can just be about eating well. But essentially they took two groups, exactly the same number of calories. One group were on more sort of ultra processed food. One group ate whole food, including a lot of vegetables, exactly the same. And the group on whole foods lost twice as much weight as those that didn't. So I would say yes, because it's filling you, fiber again. And it is about kind of like putting
Your body's
that
getting
into
the
your
nutrients
body
first, and then
potentially slowing
better
down
quality
your
ones, perhaps.
glucose response, possibly. I mean,
And
that's the
also
thing
there's
people think
less,
about.
to be fair, there's less rubbish in veggies than there is in ultra
Yeah.
processed and
Yeah.
processed
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
And that's all higher in calories.
Yes.
And a lot of processed and ultra processed food has a lot of sugar and salt in, and
Yeah.
actually,
So
you
just
know,
one mince pie.
just one mince pie rather
Yeah,
than
actually.
you
Because
know,
then they're not
because
yeah, it's
then they're
very
not
different.
processed or ultra processed. So, and that's
So
another
what's in
thing.
mince meat stuff then?
Well,
What's
I
in
don't
mince
eat
meat?
mince pies.
Oh, okay.
So
So-
go on, Tori.
So we've got dried fruit. So you
Yeah.
can have any mixture you like, maybe like raisins,
you make your own
sultanas. Yeah,
Oh,
cranberries.
right, okay.
Then some grated like cooking apple, a bit of sugar. So sometimes I'll replace it for coconut sugar.
Yeah.
If you want, you
I've
can put a
got
bit of
some.
brandy in it. Or apple juice if
I'm
you're
going to be
hungry.
replaying this to get that mess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
send you the. It was a fantastic recipe actually. I'd recommend it. There was a lady called Jane who was on the Great British Bake Off on Jane's Patisserie. She's got a lovely recipe for like a homemade mincemeat, and it's very delicious. So
Maybe drop
yeah.
it below the podcast when we get it out on the platform. Then that'd
Absolutely.
be great.
Yeah, and there's butter in there as well, so you don't need to put lard in, all the bits of suet, all of that. You
Yeah.
don't. So you can just have very simple.
Yeah.
And then you know how much sugar's in it. There's
Yeah.
nothing hidden.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just more delicious.
Right.
And that's what's quite nice about this time of the year, actually. People tend to want to gather around at the kitchen a lot more. Kids get involved in baking and things like that. So rather than, going out and buying stuff already made, you can actually get the whole family
Yeah.
involved.
Get them up. Yeah.
And also you're educating, the kids around,
Yeah.
that actually making food and making things from scratch can be a whole lot of fun. And
It's true.
and it's not a chore, and doesn't have to be hard work, and it can be really good fun
Yeah.
to do that at home.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a good stress-free approach you've covered in that one, isn't it, really? So what about hydration? What part does that play in the role of helping us maintain a nice balanced?
Yeah, I think hydration is one of those everyday things, really. It's not specific to
It's not just Christmas.
It ain't just for Christmas, no. Water's not just for Christmas. It's again down to kind of healthy habits, really. And healthy habits don't start or die over Christmas. They're things that are part of your day-to-day routine, really, depending on your health journey and where you're at. But I would say for me, what I tend to do and what I find helps is, when I wake up in the morning, I'll have a glass of room temperature water, or I'll have some warm water in the morning. And that's kind of my start to my hydration. And then if I'm in the kitchen busy cooking, I'd always have a glass of water before I have any alcohol if I am drinking on Christmas Day. And even before a meal, I'd have a glass of water about half an hour, before I eat, because again, that fills you up, keeps you hydrated. So I don't think it's kind of like a hard or fast. I think if you can have a glass of water handy in the kitchen or around the house, every time you empty it, fill it up. It's quite an easy stress-free way to keep yourself hydrated.
Yeah.
But that's a habit you can do throughout the
I
year.
got a few lemon drops in mine in the morning.
Yeah, or a piece of cucumber.
Get that
nice as well. If you
Got
don't like the taste.
microbiome active again.
I mean, just on that one, I would say that it's worth so sometimes actually, like until we get used to, so one of the things about eating well, I think, is starting to notice your body's signals. Am I actually hungry? Like, do I really need to eat now? Because it's just, sometimes we snack out of habit, not because we're really hungry. And obviously over Christmas, sometimes we snack because it's nice and we want to eat it. So, I'm not saying you can't necessarily do that. But one of the things that I remember reading was that, actually, if we're not used to those signals within our body, dehydration can feel like hunger.
Yeah.
So I always say, especially if thinking about how much you're consuming and kind of wanting to, watch your calories, or if that's your personal goal, or just anyway to hydrate. But I think it's always worth thinking, like, if you think, oh, I'm just so hungry, first thinking, when was the last time I drank any water? Because often, again, we're rushing, and if you're not used to that, like just filling a glass up and doing it, then you think, oh, actually, no, I've not even drank a glass of water today. Just had a coffee this morning, So I think in terms of that, kind of our weight and our habits that way, I think it's probably just a simple check. When you think you're hungry, have some water first, and then ask yourself,
what about just putting salts in so that the cells actually bring in that water? Do you just put a little bit of salt in your water, or do you just
I don't generally. I'll only do that
Yeah.
if I've maybe like, I mean, I enjoy running, so if I've been for a
Mm.
long run, I would do that because, you're potentially sweating out, and so you maybe need to rebalance your electrolytes. But I think if you're having a balanced diet, and you're not
And the
over
salt in your
consuming
diet,
water,
putting salt.
yeah,
Yeah.
It used to be that salt. But I've grown up with all of that, going through all the oils, everything that's wrong and all that, and now we're
Yeah.
coming back round again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a bit of a nightmare. So it's great to have you guys on to sort
Right,
us all
well.
out. So what tips help people manage cravings? You've just covered that really, haven't you? Because if you listen to your body, and I think that's key, people don't listen to their body. They're shopping with their eyes, they're listening, looking at all the food with their eyes. Actually, what of this would make me feel better?
Yeah.
And just start with water, like you say.
Yeah, and it is about that feeling. It's about going, okay, how is this going to make me feel? And it's not about restriction, it's about choice. And you mentioned shopping for food and things like that. One handy tip, and this really works, is don't go shopping on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
Or thirsty.
Yeah, exactly. Or thirsty. So, make sure you have something to eat before you go shopping, because then you will make wiser choices, because then you're not kind of, eating with your eyes and then your stomach's tumbling. I'll just have some of that. Just have some of that.
It's so true, isn't it? And go in with a list.
Yes.
And stick to the list.
Yeah.
The amount of money that's extra spent when people go, oh, because they're shopping with their eyes, they may be hungry, and it's all going in. And then once you get home, it's like, really? Why have I bought this?
And actually, shopping with the list can be quite empowering, because you've kind of you've planned ahead, haven't you? And that's the other thing. We know Christmas brings with it, in terms of planning, office parties, more opportunities to eat out. But if we know we're going to do all of that, we can plan ahead, can't we? We can kind of, check what's on the menu. We can then make choices that will make us feel good. When we go shopping, we've got our list, and we're kind of sticking to the list and go, well, actually, that's quite empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
So all of this, how do we support our immune system? I mean, I think from what you're saying, eat healthily is going to do that. Is there any other tips that you can think of that we can do to help us get through this season? With all the different issues, she needs some
Talking
food.
about food. Have you had breakfast?
I had chia seeds and apples and walnuts. No, I had my usual breakfast. That's because we're talking about Christmas food. I'm such a foodie, honestly.
And homemade mince pies.
No, my tummy's ready. It's like, gimme.
I do. I love not just the food, but what it bringing people around.
Yeah.
You're making time for your family and your friends, or or if you there's places now that if you are on your own, you can go to and be with people.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's what I do love about this time of year.
Yeah, and that actually does help to support our immune health.
It does.
That sense of community and being together.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think about that,
And all those hugs with the oxytocin.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, it's like
From a hugger.
one of the ways to support our immune health is creating that sense of community, and if anyone is feeling lonely out there, there are places, and I'm sure there are other places other than one particular place on Christmas Day in Douglas, called the Nag's Head, that does Christmas for free for people. So I always think it's amazing what they do, don't they? So, that's one way to support our immune health, because actually, loneliness
biggest killer. Definitely is one of the biggest. And that can come an awful lot with the grief aspect of things. But
I think probably as well, just to before we move on from the next one, is I can just keep talking about vegetables and fiber. No, what I would say is so if you do want to indulge in some things, that if that's part of your Christmas, and don't have any guilt, enjoy it in moderation, but just don't forget to add those vegetables, because actually, and I'm specifically talking about your immune system, because the little bugs in our tummy that are absolutely part of our immune system need something to eat. So again, if you think about that, you think let's just not starve them over Christmas.
Yeah.
And that will help because actually there's lots of stuff going around and we need to just give them a bit of energy, to kind of keep us
And
healthy.
and with stuff going around, there will be quite a lot of people that would have been given antibiotics,
Mm.
and that obviously kills off those bugs.
Mhm.
So how do you help somebody address that? I mean, I know there's such things like sauerkraut, beetroot. I pickle beetroot. I'll eat that, but the sauerkraut, no way. But I know you can get a probiotic or a prebiotic. Which one?
Which, oh well,
To help you
so you kind of
good gut
kind of need
bacteria.
both.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, essentially, so if we're going to group foods,
Yeah.
then you would say that your a probiotic would be your, you can like see if I can remember all this. So it would be your like, the sauerkraut, which you'd like, but also things like kefir, natural yogurt. So if
Yeah.
you look on the side of the yogurt, it should actually, it usually says like made naturally, or it'll list the bacteria that are in it,
Yeah.
which is a really good thing.
And ideally on the yogurt side, you probably
Mhm.
don't want more than 2 or 3 ingredients at the most,
Yeah.
because really yogurt should just be milk.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
And good quality Greek yogurt, not Greek style yogurt, not anything style, but like
No, and
good-
not
good-
sugars and all that stuff.
yeah.
So
So
just plain.
just knowing that ingredients on things is important, isn't
Exactly.
it? Sorry to
No,
interrupt
it's
you.
okay. No, I'm just trying to think. So then, and then we have
And that help bring the gut balance back in again.
yeah, or you can there's if you like more Asian style food, so there's miso is a great source of kind of bacteria. It's great. I know Di's looking at me like, I don't maybe do that. I'm trying to think of, so yeah,
I
yogurt,
made it too
sauerkraut,
thick.
kefir.
Not
Yeah,
sure.
like a
Some of the
miso
people have
paste.
said have had it. Yeah, it was a miso paste. Maybe I
Yeah.
put too much in.
Do you know, I put miso like in my gravy.
Right.
Well, that's interesting.
It's delicious
I'm
because
sure,
it's
yeah.
got like such a rich umami flavor.
Mm.
My tummy's gonna go again. I'm just anyway, it's really good. And actually, like, so I follow the Zoe podcast as well,
Yeah.
and I've got the Food for Life cookbook. My tummy really is going. And often it's a great substitute miso instead of using a stock cube, because it depends what stock cubes you buy. Some of them again can are not always that great.
Yeah, and high in salt, aren't
Indeed,
they?
they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, but miso is a good substitute, and it's just savory. So, and if you put it into something like that,
Maybe I
it's
should
a
try
more
it again.
traditional flavor, then you might be able to give with it. But also, do you know what is a really good probiotic as well? Is actually if you can find like really good quality local honey that hasn't been heated, so it's not been pasteurized,
Raw honey.
and also eat it cold.
Right.
So just a spoon. So you could have it in fact, in a glass of water, with a bit of lemon. That might be quite nice. But if it goes too hot, so don't put it in a hot drink because it'll just kill the bacteria. So it's not going to help you
That's
there.
interesting. Because
Yeah,
they like
honey's
to put a
great.
spoonful of honey in
Yeah,
things
yeah.
occasionally,
Or
but it's usually
a bit
warm
hot.
water.
It's yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, just maybe
It's like thick, so you're trying to just get it to mix in with stuff.
Unfortunately, you're kind of killing all the good stuff in
You
the
are.
process.
So
aren't
yeah,
you?
just have a spoonful of honey.
A teaspoonful of
Yeah.
honey.
Yeah, and then have your water.
Yeah.
Pasteurized cheeses, obviously, as long as thinking about if you're be cautious if you're like pregnant or if you've got any conditions. But you can usually again look on the back of the packet, and that's also a source.
What about a teaspoon of coconut oil for coughs?
Oh,
Well, there you go.
Did you know that works? And it works on your dogs too if they start coughing. There's a tip for
I
that.
can't. That's antimicrobial, isn't it?
Yeah, it does
great.
make sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you very much for doing this and having a bit of fun with us for this little podcast today. And so what would be now your biggest takeaway for everybody? Go, Tori.
Oh. I would just say, don't feel the guilt and don't have extreme rules, but just go a bit steady. Like, don't stuff yourself if you don't need to, and prioritize your breakfast, and just think about general healthy habits for the year. Enjoy the nice Christmas food, but it doesn't have to be overly extravagant. And making yourself go into a food coma.
Yeah. I would say have fun and enjoy Christmas. Take the pressure off yourself. And kind of, without guilt or extreme rules, just throw that one out the window, really. Enjoy it. Life's too short, and having fun over Christmas around the table, enjoying what you're eating. And you know, eat till you feel full.
Yeah.
And enjoy what you're eating.
Yeah.
Really eat mindfully and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, mine would be remember what guilt actually means, and it's just been programmed into you. So, when you catch yourself feeling guilty about something, just remember that's not you, that's your programming. Guilt actually means something completely else, which we'll cover on another podcast in the future. In the meantime, have a wonderful Christmas season and all the best for 2026.
Oh, bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.